Úc là điểm đến du học quen thuộc của du học sinh Việt Nam nhờ vào hệ thống trường học uy tín, môi trường học tập tốt và nhiều cơ hội. Chính phủ Úc cũng đã và đang tạo điều kiện cho du học sinh Việt Nam với hy vọng đào tạo một thế hệ nhân tài, góp phần đóng góp vào sự phồn vinh của đất nước, góp phần vào nỗ lực ấy. Công ty tư vấn du học IDP với 45 năm kinh nghiệm trong việc tư vấn du học toàn cầu và 20 năm kinh nghiệm tại Việt Nam đã hỗ trợ hàng trăm ngàn du học sinh Việt Nam đến Úc và các nước nói tiếng Anh khác như Mỹ, Canada, Anh và New Zealand. Để tìm hiểu về dịch vụ tư vấn du học của IDP và những hỗ trợ của chính phủ Úc dành cho du học sinh Việt Nam, chúng tôi mời quý vị cùng gặp gỡ ông McAnulty, Tổng lãnh sự Úc tại thành phố Hồ Chí Minh và ông Burges, Tổng giám đốc công ty tư vấn du học IDP Việt Nam. Good evening, gentlemen, and thank you for coming here today.
Thank you, pleasure to be here.
Nice to meeting you. And the first questions I would give to Mr. Burges. So what are the services that IDP providing to students who want to study overseas?
Well, IDP provides a range of services for our students. Obviously, one of the core services we provide is around information, so information about institutions and about courses. We try to make sure that students find courses that suit their career and their life goals, suit their budget, and obviously courses that they're qualified for, academically qualified for. So course information and counselling is a very important part of our services. Another is information around finances, so how to finance their study, information around scholarships that are available to students. We also obviously provide a lot of information around the visa process, and we help students with the application of their visas. So they're the core services, and English language training too. We have ASET language centres here in Vietnam, so we can give access to students for training as well.
That's awesome. And for Mr. McAnulty, so what's the support that the Australian government that helping the Vietnamese students who want to study abroad?
The education links between our two countries, Van, it's a good story. Yeah. It's been going on for 30, nearly 40 years now. Australia is the 5th largest donor of development assistance to Vietnam. As a result of that, a good percentage of our aid money is towards education and training in two forms. There's the Australian government provides 400 scholarships in total per annum to Vietnamese students, which is the highest of any government. In addition to that, we do a lot of training in-country under our Human Resource Development Program to get Vietnam to have a more highly educated workforce. In addition to that, the Australian universities provide a huge number of scholarships themselves for Vietnamese students to go to Australia. Further to that also, we have Australian businesses here who do their own human resource development programs in-house, and again that trains up a very, very talented young Vietnamese workforce. So it's a good story. The education links go back a long way, as I said. It's a cornerstone of our relationship between our two countries.
So then what does IDP and also the Australian government cooperate in helping promoting the educations of Australia?
Well, we work in a number of ways, I think, John, between IDP and the embassy. One of the most obvious, of course, is around the visa process. We obviously IDP works with the embassy and with the visa team in the embassy to keep up to date on what's happening with the visa requirements and the processes. We also work closely with the team if problems arise around visa applications and things like that, and making sure that we are keeping our students informed about their requirements, the documents, all those sorts of things. So that's an important part of how we cooperate. We cooperate too in promotion. Obviously, both sides promote Australia as an international education destination. We cooperate on events very kindly. The embassy is very supportive of IDP in many ways, and particularly around the events that we run. Yeah.
Okay, so what does the role that the embassy and consulate played in helping promoting Australia education?
Our Australian Trade Commission here in Ho Chi Minh City also organises education fairs.
Yes.
And we can get up to 50 and 60 universities from Australia come to those fairs. In addition to that, we have the Australian universities, and many of the Vietnamese universities have a joint cooperation where they do the Australian courses from the universities in Australia are presented here in the universities in Vietnam. And in total there are 16,000 Vietnamese students studying the Australian curriculum in part or in full here in Vietnam, and that's being taught at 29 different institutions in the country. So again, there's a lot of cooperation with the universities and with IDP to promote education here in country.
Yeah, and I see that if the student or the parents, if they want to study overseas, they normally see through the event or exhibitions, especially the institute exhibitions.
Yes.
So how does IDP doing in their activities? How did you guys invest in those activities?
Events are a big part of what we do, obviously because they're large. As as John said, at least 50, 60, sometimes even more institutions are joining those events.
Yeah.
So organisation of them is a big task. And we run, IDP, we run 5 events each year throughout the year. So that is obviously a big part and an important part in getting information out to parents and students. And important too because it gives the parents and students the opportunity to actually meet representatives from the institutions that they're thinking. But it is only one part of what we're doing in terms of getting information to parents. As I said, there's the counselling service that we do within the office. We have many events in-house in the offices. Yeah. We have outreach programs to the schools and to the universities here in Vietnam. Yeah. And obviously we do a lot of work in terms of web and social media promotion. They would be the core sort of information sharing activities that we have. Yeah?
So then if all the consulate process is done and the student get visa when they get to overseas, so what does IDP still able to helping them when they are studying?
Yeah, this is an important part too for us in what we do. It's important for us to keep the link with both the parents here and with the student when they're in Australia. So we do that. We have a lot of contact with students, obviously through email, through social media, through a whole range of things. We also, fortunately, we have offices in Australia. So we've got an office in each of the major cities in Australia, which can support students while they're there.
You're giving a lot of supporting for the Vietnamese student who study overseas. And then, so what are your expectations for them?
We would like, particularly the students who receive Australian government scholarships, we would like, and all students in general, we'd like them to return to Vietnam. They come back highly qualified, have a very good education, and we want them to become leaders here in Vietnam and help the development of Vietnam. We'd also suggest that when they do come back, that they join an alumni group, Vietnam Graduates of Australia Club, and part of that they can be acting as a bridge between Australia and Vietnam, or Vietnam and Australia. And it really is a win-win link, a win-win situation for both countries. And we just hope they never forget their time of 3 or 4 years they do spend in Australia.
Yes.
And enjoying their time in Australia,
Yeah.
great career when they get back, but also being happy,
Yes.
I think, happy with what they've done and with their futures.
Yeah.
And then, how about IDP? Does you give the services for the students who wants to study in other countries besides Australia? And
yes.
if so, what is the difference between the consulate process in that countries and Australia?
So we do, yes. We provide services for students who want to go to the UK, to the US, Canada and New Zealand. So it's 5 countries altogether. As John pointed out, Australia is the biggest share by far of that total. The differences in the services from country to country, in a way, probably not a lot really in terms of the services that we provide. Yeah? So it's the basic services that I outlined earlier. But there is a lot of difference in the information that you're actually giving. So each country is quite different.
Well, thank you so much for your information, and it's really helpful. And thank you for coming here. Quý vị thân mến, những thông tin vừa rồi cũng đã khép lại tạp chí Đầu tư giáo dục tuần này. Để tìm hiểu về dịch vụ tư vấn du học của IDP tại các nước nói tiếng Anh khác, chúng tôi mời quý vị cùng theo dõi tạp chí Đầu tư giáo dục trong những số sau. Để xem lại những chuyên mục trong tạp chí, quý vị có thể truy cập trang web của chúng tôi tại worldwideweb.fbnc.vn. Và tôi là Thúy Vân. Hẹn gặp lại quý vị trong những chương trình kỳ sau.